Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video, another kind of advice video, I guess. Um, Today I've been asked to talk about or record about exam and test revision advice. Now, this is something that, well, if you're kind of early on into the semester or term, if you're in school for studying, this is really good from the start. If not, if you're like towards the end or exam season, then you can still do this to kind of prepare yourself as much as you can and then carry this forward to the next semester or term. So what I've done, I've put down some key points, written down some key points to go over in this video. The first key point I'd say is talk about the structure of learning. So the structure of learning, what I mean by that is like, I'm gonna refer to an analogy of the structure of learning to a house or a building, for example. Now, what you learn or what you do in class, those repetitive questions, those are your foundations. And without a really strong foundation in a building, doesn't matter how big a building you build, if the foundations aren't there to support it, if the foundations aren't good, the building will collapse. Um, is the basics. If you're not rooted properly, then you will fall, kind of thing. So in the structure of learning, let's refer this back. So in the structure of learning, those class questions, repetitive questions, those are the foundations. The more you practice it, the better understanding you'll have, and the easier it will be to understand those concepts. When you move from that, you go towards, if you have like a textbook or something, you go towards the end of chapter questions or the questions in the book. The end of chapter questions, those application type questions, that's where you put the learning of the foundations or fundamentals into practice. That's where you apply it to more of a real world kind of based scenario. For example, in maths, you'll do a lot of calculation work, but then the application questions will be applying it to a certain scenario. So that's applying the fundamentals. Then after that, and this is kind of like the one of the important things that a lot of people skip over. I've made the mistake of doing this as well. Past papers and past tests, really important because it's in the past. You can kind of look and see what kind of questions you can expect to come up when you do your test or exam. One of the key things to look for is patterns. And what I mean by this is go through a few different past papers from past years and see if there's a question or two questions that are really hard or that are really similar that have been repeated over the years. What this can indicate is that, because, say, for example, in 2017 and 2018, there was a trend of a really hard question, but it was really similar in fundamentals or in structure. What that indicates is that for the students that sat that exam, it was a hard question for both years. That's why they kept it on. What this indicates to you is that it should be something that you can expect to come up again because it wasn't the best done question. So again, going through these past papers and tests gives you an understanding of the curveballs that can come your way, kind of thing. And that's really good because then you can prepare yourself for that scenario if it comes up. Excuse me. Um, Another thing that I'm going to talk about is, and another really important thing is quality over quantity. This is in note taking. You want your quality of notes to be better than the quantity of them. What I mean by this is one of the things that I advise to my mentors and mentor programs that I'm part of is to, and they're in university at this moment, but this could work for high school students as well, is to try and really limit the amount of notes that you have to handwrite. One thing that I found very helpful was OneNote. It's a Microsoft program, I think there'll be an equivalent if you're using Apple products as well. But what OneNote does is you can kind of just upload your lecture notes or any kind of PDF notes that you have into a file or folder on that onto your document. and then you can kind of annotate on top of it. So it's like you're not rewriting everything from scratch. You can annotate on top of the PDF itself. You can take pictures from your phone. If you link your laptop or iPad to your phone, you can take a picture of things that the teacher writes on the board. You can take a picture of it quickly, save it next to that slide so they can go back to as a reference. And then that saves you time not having to write it, copy it from the board like really hastily, and then you're just copying it for the sake of copying it. You're not understanding it, kind of thing. So it gives you the chance to actually understand what's being written, and you don't have to worry about copying it down. That's a really big tip. And then the other thing that I like to talk about is techniques for studying. Everyone's different, but one of the techniques that I've found that a lot of people use, and there's a lot of videos about, is the Pomodoro technique. So essentially, and this is kind of similar to some other techniques I've seen, is you have a big allocation of time, and you do segments. So you do like maybe like 45 minutes of this subject, a little bit of a rest, 45 minutes of a different subject. And pretty much this comes back to psychology of studying and revising, is your brain can only kind of function or focus on one specific subject or topic for a certain amount of time. After that, it needs rest and then go into something different. That way, you're not exhausting your brain power on one thing, and you can actually use more brain power and function towards different subjects. Um, so I hope that helped. There are a few other things that I'd like to address. I just can't remember them right now. This is why it's good to write things down. But yeah, definitely. And this is a question that came straight after my last video. So I hope it helps. And yeah, look, keep this conversation going in the comments. You know, if there's other techniques that you guys know that might help others watching this video, looking at the comments, then definitely put it down in the comments below. And as always, you know, let's just try and share this with as many people that need it. And who knows who needs to see this. But essentially, those are some of my big tips that I'd like to share with you guys. And until next time, see you guys later. Take care. Peace and bye.